Welcome to my another video tutorial for this session. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Today I'm gonna talk about predefined variables and form handling. What I mean form handling is when you submit a form, like for example login form, you enter your username, then tapos yung password mo, and then when you click submit, it will be passed to their page, and then you catch the value or get the value based in your inputs from the previous page. But before that, we're gonna talk about predefined variables. There are predefined variables in PHP. So these are the predefined variables. So actually, we have globals, we have servers. So server execution environment information, so you can use this one a lot regarding with your server information, or environment variables. If you want to get those values, you can use the servers. Post, when you submit, especially in login form, if you like to hide the value that you entered in the username and password, then you can use forms as a method in the form. And then we have get. You can use that one if you like, if you have no problem with your data displaying in the URL, so you can use that one. It's up to you, but if you're using it for login, for saving data, like for example, or updating information, then you can better if you're going to use post. Files, when you upload, we will create another video for that. When you upload the files, so those files are stored in the predefined variable name files. And then request, the same thing with get and post. So and then environment variables, that is the variables located in your server. I will show you later. Cookie, it can be used for, like say you like to create a small file that you want to store in user computer, so you can use cookie. And then session, it's usually used for login. Like for example, since it is a predefined or a global variables, and when you use session, let's say after login, you store the information of the user, email, and so on in a particular session. So kahit anong page na i-visit mo, or if you like to go to other pages inside your website, you can access those information using sessions, and so on. So and then we have PHP error message, row data posts, and so on. So okay, here in our server, if you like to view the data in your server, you can simply you can bar dump those, like for example server, and then if you access here, so those are the data inside your server. The question is, saan galing yung data na yun? Saan mo yung galing? So it's galing yun sa server mo. In my case, galing sa ng PHP server ko na sinet up ko dito sa Linux environment. So to view that one, maybe we will update the index.php in my directory root, so that I can show you the environment or the server variables. Saan ba yun? Server I don't know, it's in a var. So when you access here, localhost, you get this one. So maybe we will change this one. We'll place it to PHP Info. PHP Info, it will display all the information regarding your PHP, your web PHP Apache. So including the Apache information. So save that one, alright, and then refresh. and you will see here all the information that you need. Like for example, the version, the system. So since I'm using Linux, so it's here. So Apache version 2.0, fast and so on. Then let's go to the environment, Apache environment. So here, so those information na print sa bar dump natin regarding the server are from in this environment. So for example, I would like to access the path. So I would just change, since it is an array, the server is an array. So if you check this information here, if you read this one, is an array containing information such as header, paths, and so on. So if you go back to PHP Info and then path, so like that, and then it should display the value of the path, which is the location, blah blah blah, and so on. So refresh that one. So this would be the value. Okay, and then for example, let's say the server name. So let's say server name. Go back to here, and then it's PHP. So you can get those values. All right. So you can also get the request method that's being used. So since it is not post, it is get. So it is stated here. It's get, and then the file name, the script file name, it is located at var www.html index.php. That's the one we updated, right? This one. So those are the environment or Apache environment variables. And then okay, yeah, and then for globals, yeah, when in globals, it can be accessed anywhere. So an state array can reference us to all variables which are currently defined. Global scope variable names are key of an array. So it's an example here. Okay. So declared variable foo, so on, and then global foo. Okay. I think this is declared outside the method. Yeah, with something like this. Foo. This is testing. And then you create a method, let's say get name, and then you can just simply globals foo, or something like that. Let's check if that will work. Okay, and then get name. No, it's not a variable, it is a method. Something like that, right? Okay, that's good. It is, since it is global variable, but actually you can access, like for example, like this. To say, oops. No. You need to, if it is class, then you need to use it, you need to pass it to here. Since it is a method, and since we are not using global. So for example, something like that. Okay, so that's it. Global. All right, and then what's next? Okay, and then this file, for when we upload, I'm going to create another video for that, and then also with the session and the cookie. For the session, I'm going to create a complete login system, basic page that you can log in, log out, and then display data information. So maybe I will follow up that one. So let's move on the file handling. Like for example, we have, let's say we have a HTML file. Okay, form handling, what I mean. So meron tayong form handling, and then we will create a form. Okay, so as you can see, the action is, action mean when you click the page, for example, we will create a basic form. Let's say just basic text, and this would be username. Okay, and then just copy this one, and this would be password. The name would be password, and then create button first. We'll put a submit value btn submit. Okay, and then maybe alright, something like that, just basic, and then we change this one to post. So these are methods. If you're going to use get, then you need to change that one to get, since we are going to create a basic login form, and then we don't want the password to be shown in the page, or right, so we need to use post, so that para hindi siya makita ng user, especially the password. And then the action is where do you want to submit this information. So basically I can simply let's say just create a login.php for now, and then we need to create that file, login.php. all right, and then after that, since we stated the login.php, and then the fields, the button, and then let's try to check first in the page. Oops. All right. Okay. Say login form, just basic for now. So we don't really need a sophisticated form. Okay, so something like that, and then once we submit that one, then we will get the value from this field username and password. So here in our login.php, since that login.php is what we use in the action, and then we use post for that, since we don't want the password to be shown in the URL. Okay, so you can just use username placeholder, so that it will show here. All right, and then after that, if I will submit this one, let's say for example John, and then my password, and then I click submit, it will go, or it will be submitted to the login.php. Since I don't have yet any code in my login.php to get the value in the username and password, then there's no display yet. So to get those value, let's go back in our local host, and then to get those, since we use post, don't forget we use post here because we don't want the password to be shown in the URL. So we need to get those is to use post. So let's say we create a variable username, and then we have post, right? So as you can see in our predefined variable, post, and then of course since it is an array, don't forget those are arrays, variable associative arrays. So what is the name of the input username? Since the name of my input is username, so that is what I'm going to use here. Okay, and then oops, 1 second, and then of course the password, same thing, and then what is the name of the password? It is password. So like that. And then if I would like to echo that one, of course I can echo now. So something like that. For example, for username, and let's refresh the page, and then my username is John, let's say coding1, that is my username, and then I submit that one, automatically it will be fetched from the previous form. But if you notice, there is no field in my URL because I use post. But if I'm going to change that one to get, okay, and then I will change this one to get, and then this one too, and you will notice the difference. So I will enter username and then submit. You will notice the username and password are shown above or shown in the URL. So let's say that one, you notice that my username is codeb1 and the password is 123. We don't want to do that. So that's why we don't need, or we need to use post, especially if it's critical information or if it's important information that we don't want to be shown to the user or to the user, like for example login form. So we need to use post. For just simple page, then we can use get. Okay, so here we need to use post. So now that's the first part. We created an HTML, we created the form, we created the inputs, username and password, and then we fetch the data from the previous page. Okay, so and then, so what are we going to do now? So let's say, for example, I would like to display those. So I can simply echo those one, no? Let's say, let's change the input. Instead of password, maybe I would say first name. We'll create, maybe I will create another file for that. So let's echo first, so that just for basic purposes only. So we really don't want to do like this for now, but since we are just in testing, that's fine. And then okay, and password, username, okay, and then those password, right? So let's say, for example, coding 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so username, password, and so on. But of course, the fields are hidden, so it is good, it is safe. Okay, so let's try to create another file. Let's say user.php, and then we will go to user.php. Same thing we will do, create user. Maybe let's create a form first. Let's say save user.php. Alright, and then since it is saving data, we will just use also post. So here we need to create the save this file. Okay, okay, and then here user, we're going to create input text. First type text, first name, all right, and then let's say, for example, this is label, first name. Okay, and then we just maybe copy those, and this would be last name, and this would be email, and then we will use, change this one, last name, and then email, and you can use type for that. Okay, and then just line break. We will use in the future, maybe we'll use Bootstrap so that we can easily arrange the HTML tags, but for now we just use, I think this is fine. Alright, so if we have first name, and then we need to create a input. submit button. We'll name it to btn save, and then the value is, let's say, register user. Okay, so something like that. We can create, maybe we use Bootstrap in our future videos, but for now, I think this is fine for tutorial. Okay, so maybe we'll just put a register user, something like that. Okay. Okay, so in our save, all right, yep, so in here, we're going to get the first name, post, first name, you can copy that one, would be last name, this would be email, we will add validation later. Okay, so let's check first if we're getting the value. First name echo, last name echo, email. No spacing yet. So let's go back to user page, this one, and then we enter the name John, else, and then username and test.com, and the email, and we submit the user. Oops, so here we are not able to get the result, so let's debug first. Okay, so second, echo first name, of course, because our post is post is small letter, so it's wrong. Go back to meet, right, and then we can add break line. Like that, and then we refresh and submit. All right, so we get the first name, last name, and the email. So now what I'm gonna do, what I want to do is I want to validate. So I want to validate a, what do we call this one, the first name, last name, and email. So if it's invalid, then redirect back to user page and then display the error or the problem. Okay, so if go back to user, something like that. So I'm gonna show here, like for example, invalid password and username. I'm gonna do that. So in our case, I will remove this one. We need to validate first. So the first name, the last name should not be empty, and the email should be a valid email address. So what are we gonna do for those variables? So first name is, we need to check, let's say, to check that we will use string length. So to check the length of the first name, if it's empty or not empty. Okay, so first name, if less than is equal to 0, and then after that, maybe we will let's try this one. We will put all the errors in the array. Okay, invalid first name, or maybe please enter your first name. And then after that, please enter your last name. And then please enter a valid email address. So for the email address, we're gonna use a filter var function provided by the PHP. I think we can check it here. All right. So filter var. Let's check. So here, so we have a variable, which is our email, and then filter var ID. So let's check here, types of filter. So since we are validating a email address, so we need to go to validate filters, and then let's check which one to use. Okay, so this one, so validate email. So that, copy that one and put it here. Okay, so all right. So if it's not a valid email address, so please enter a valid email address. Okay, so let's, for now, we will just echo var dump the errors. Okay, so like that. Let's try. Let's go back to the user, refresh. So if I'm not going to enter any information, register user, it should be print out those errors. Please enter your username, your last name, and please enter a valid email address. Okay, so as you can see in my bar dump, please enter email address and so on. But if I'm going to John here and then pause, so it should be just this error. Since we are passed with the first name and last name, we enter the first name and last name. Okay, so only the user, the email address. So for email address, let's say for example, register, and as you can see, there is no error. So once there is no error, then that's the time we are going to save the information to our database. For now, this is not part of the video or the tutorial, but later on I will create a complete application using this one with database and form handling. Okay, so let's say for example, let's say if let's count the array errors. If it's 0, meaning there's no error. If it's 0, meaning there is no errors. And we just simply for now, user has been registered. Been successful. Okay, something like that. And then if there is an error, then we can simply maybe what do we call this one, and display the error. So for example, for each errors, and then here we can just simply echo out the value. Let's try. Oops, 1 second. Count, echo, forgot the semicolon. And then okay, so it's now displayed. Maybe we're gonna put some break lines. Press submit it again. So those are invalid errors. Okay, all right. So for now, so that's how to validate the basic information. Now I wanted to put it here. So to do that, instead of using, what do we call this, save that user.php file, maybe I can copy this one and then put above. Actually, this is not a good example doing like this, but for just a tutorial, in order to know the concept, this is good for now. But later on in our video, in our advanced tutorial, we will not going to be like, it's not going to be like this. Okay, and then of course, since we want it here, I want to change this one to redirect or submit it to my to this file, to this file user.php. And then if, for example, if I'm going to check, if I post something like that, if there is a file submitted, okay, post, and then we have to execute this thing. Copy this one. We're not going to use save user anymore, so we'll just use this user.php file. In here, instead of putting there, we need to move this one here. So now, as you can see, we combined the PHP and HTML code in one file. But since if you watch my previous videos, all code inside this and this closing question mark greater than are PHP codes, and then outside with that is HTML or other files, other type of text. So here we check the error. Error is stated above. Maybe we will declare the error outside as a global variable, something like that. And then, yeah, if there's no error, then save the information to database and display text. Display text, user has been successfully registered, something like that. Right? And then if there is an error, then you need to print out the error. So something, let's try. Okay, let's double check first. So we have the form. Once we submit the form, maybe we can use this one instead of post. Okay, so how to do that? You can just simply iSet. So if the variable is set, meaning you submitted a form including the button, so meaning you are saving or you are submitting information, saving data. So if it's set, then it will goes inside the if statement. If not, then if not, then it will display as is. Okay, so no error, and then we else, something like that. Okay, I think that's fine. So if we refresh the user, so we will see form, but it's not. It's showing successfully registered. So 1 second. All right, that's correct. We will just use this one. There's other way we can do that, but maybe just for that right now. Oops, I said something like that. So okay, so meaning if there's no post button save, so I'm just want to display the form. Okay, so here, paano ba to? Yan. Excuse me. So we check the btn save, it is submitted, or if form is submitted. So if form is submitted and then there is no error, meaning user has been successfully saved. So here you are going to execute or put a code that will save the information to database. Okay, so for now we don't have yet like that. So let's try if I will submit this one and what do we call this one? Maybe I will add this also. Okay, something like that, and then okay, and then we'll try to submit, refresh, submit. Okay, so as you can see, it is printed above since it is validating the first name, last name, and email address. But if I'm going to just like that, then leave the email, so it should be the email. All right, and then maybe to make it look presentable, maybe I will just what do we call this one? Echo error text probably, and then we can simply fill the UL. Okay, and then here we text. So here we don't need the BR anymore. We're going to ordered list errors text concatenate with value, and then in the value just simply something like that. Okay, and then after that we concatenate UL, and then we printed out. Let's try. Oops. So value index at PHP, forgot the semicolon. Let's go back, click it again. As you can see, there is already and then let's put PR here. Another one. Okay. All right. So as you can see, if just a refresh and we did not submit or click the button register, if refresh that one, there's no message or error. But if we submit now, it will show please enter and so on, since we did not supply first name, last name, and email address. So if I'm going to supply that one, so what we expect now, after I click register user, it should show this user has been successfully registered. So submit. All right, so meaning there is no error and the button and the form is submitted, and then we display the message error has been successfully registered. So in the actual application, what we are going to do is to store actually the data from the form to our MySQL database or whatever database that you are going to use. Okay, so I'm gonna follow up that video tutorial regarding with that. We will create a complete application, validation, database, and so on. But for now, what is our target is to know the predefined variables and form handlings. So that's it. So I think that's all for this video. Okay, so thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.